Welcome to the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, a podcast for high-achieving women who are great at making money but struggle to build wealth. You'll learn how to take control of your money, increase your net worth, and make more. Ladies, it's time to create a life with more money and more freedom. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited because I have Sheri Brasier with me today, and we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, shopping, style, and just looking good. You all know that was something that was so important to me back in the day, and it still is even to today, where, my appearance is one of my values. I love to look nice. I like a nice handbag. I like some nice clothing. And so we're going to have a conversation around just being in style while still building wealth and how we can balance the two, because you all know that I'm all about doing both, building wealth and enjoying life. And so I know that we can build wealth and still look good at the same time. And that's what we're talking about today. So hi, Sheri. How are you?
I am great. How are you? I'm so excited about this conversation.
Me too. So, Sheri, I have a ton of questions for you, but before we dive in, just introduce yourself. Let my listeners know all about who you are and what you love doing as a coach.
Okay. Well, as Jermaine said, I'm Sheri Brasier, and I am a wardrobe stylist and life coach and an longtime hairstylist. I've been a hairstylist for 28 years. So being in the beauty industry is just where I've grown up. And I love everything about it. I love doing hair. I love styling people. I love empowering women to know how to put themselves together and look stylish and beautiful in the way that they really want, not following anyone's rules of what everyone thinks that they have to look like. I really love helping them know what they like and what they love.
Awesome. I am so excited for this conversation. So let's go ahead and just get to it because like I said, I have some questions for you. So let's start with the basics. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions around dressing in a stylish way without spending a fortune?
Well, first of all, people think that if they want to dress stylish, that they have to have money. They have to have extra money and lots of money in order to do that. And I think that is probably the biggest misconception, is that you don't have to have a great big clothing budget in order to look stylish. I think that you just really need to understand what your style is and what your style elements are that you can bring into any outfit. And you probably have them in your closet right now.
That's really good to know. Okay, so for those of us who love fashion, but we might be a little bit more wealth conscious. Maybe we are, trying to save more. Maybe we're wanting to get out of credit card debt. Maybe we just want to start putting more of our money into investments or things like travel, whatever it might be. How do you suggest we start curating a wardrobe that feels more stylish and intentional? Like, where should we start?
Well, where I started all these years ago was I gave myself a clothing budget that I could spend every month. When I first started years ago, my clothing budget was $50. I had $50 that I could squeak out of my budget that I could use for clothing and style, whatever that looked like for me. And the reason why I think it's really important to put that in the budget as a necessity is because you're going to spend it anyway. You will find a way to justify spending the money on clothes because we have to be dressed. We have to have clothing. And if it's a value for you to look nice, you're going to want to have those things accomplished. You're going to want to have those things. So you're going to spend the money anyway. And what has happened in my own experience and in my clients' experiences is if they don't have some kind of a budget, they end up spending the money anyway, and a lot more than they actually would if they scheduled it out, if they just put it in as a budget item. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter how much it is, whatever you want to put in your budget, $50, that's all you want to allot. You can do a lot with $50. So I would say the very first thing is that you need to understand about yourself that it needs to be a budget item.
I love that so much because I teach a concept of just always having a stash of money that you can spend however you want to. And you can even within that amount carve out, some for clothing. But some of my listeners might be like, $50, like I can't do anything with $50. What would you say to someone like that?
I think that you need to figure out what your minimum baseline is. You look at your budget, your finances, and figure out what you reasonably want to carve out in your budget. And it could be $500. It doesn't have to be $50, just whatever it is for you. And it's really important to know what your goals are for style so that you can measure that budget item towards your style goals. So maybe the first thing that you need to do is figure out what your style goals are so that you can set a budget. But I think going about your style goals, knowing that you're going to set a budget aside is helpful. And you can spend the money every month, or you can add it up. So what I would do if I needed something that was more than $50, I just knew that I needed to save the $50 from a couple of months so that I could get the coat or whatever it was that I wanted. Now, granted, this was 25 years ago. So but $50 was a lot more money than $50 is now. But the point is, find a budget, find something that you can put in that budget for.
Yes, I love that because it's just giving yourself, first of all, permission to spend on your clothing. And it's also giving you boundaries. So whatever that amount is, it just gives you a framework to work with. And then also every month could fluctuate. Maybe you are someone who is like, I just need to start all over. Like I hate everything in my closet. And, they just need like the basics. And maybe they do need a heftier amount for a month or two. But then after that, they can bring it back down where they're just layering in pieces. Could you kind of walk us through what that could look like?
Yes, for sure. And I do have some clients that initially think that that's what they're going to need to do is have, first to have a big budget at the beginning to get themselves set up. And then second, to just do away with all of their clothes in their closet and start over. And I've yet to find a client that needed either of those options actually in real life. Because whatever's in your closet, you like to a certain degree. You bought it, you liked it for whatever reason it was, and now you're just in the place where you're kind of frustrated because you don't know what to put together. You don't know what you need. So it's kind of that all or nothing thinking that we get into where you think that what you want is all the way over to this extreme, and so where you're at in the moment is all the way over to the other extreme. And so in order to get to the other extreme, you have to start over. That's just what we naturally think we need to do. But there's so much room in the middle that we just don't understand and know that we have. And so I would say that if that's where you're at, you think that you need to start over, you don't. You don't need to start over. You just need to learn a few things about yourself and where you're at and where you want to go and what your goals are. And then you might need to hire someone to help you. I would say, obviously, that's what I would recommend is that you find someone that can help you because I see your closet differently than you do. And if you were to look at my closet, you would say, she's a wardrobe stylist? Like, what is going on? Because we have our own baggage in our own closets. So I don't have the baggage that's in your closet, so I can see things that you can't see, and I can bring things out and give you a perspective that maybe you haven't ever thought of before. So as far as budgeting, I would say budget on the side of getting someone to help you and spend the money there. And then you're not going to need a bigger budget for your clothing that you think you need.
Have you heard that on October 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are kicking off the Stop Overspending live course experience? You can get all the details by visiting jermainefoley.com/SOS or simply going to the show notes. Listen, after working with so many women and helping them build wealth, I've noticed that there's one thing that holds them back more than anything else, and that's overspending and impulse spending. So if you are someone who makes decent or good money, but you're not building wealth like you want to, there's a good chance that overspending is holding you back too. That's why I created the Stop Overspending course live experience. Here's how it will work. Starting on Monday, October 28th, you'll join me live on Zoom for a Stop Overspending lesson. This will happen over a 6-week period. If you can't join me live, no worries. Each lesson will be recorded and uploaded into your very own course portal. Each week, for 6 weeks, you'll learn powerful strategies and mindset tools to align your spending with your values and your financial goals. On top of that, just for this live experience, you'll get live Q&A and coaching every Wednesday following Monday's class. This is where we'll dive deeper into that week's topic, troubleshoot any challenges, and celebrate your wins. You'll get real-time feedback, guidance, and support to help you stay on track. If you know that overspending and impulse spending is preventing you from building the wealth you deserve to have, then this course is for you. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Go to jermainefoley.com/SOS. That's Jermaine with a G, or simply go to the show notes. See you in class. That is so interesting. And I love how you talked about the all or nothing thinking, because I talk about that all the time. People either think that when it comes to their finances, they have to be on this really strict budget and they can't do anything in order to build wealth, or they're just going to forget about wealth building and just live it up. And it's like, well, wait a minute, there's this whole spectrum. You're just living on either extreme. How can we bring that over to the middle? And I love that you also see that with your clients as well.
Yes, I actually was just talking to a friend, a client, potential client, and she was really struggling with, she wants to be more stylish, but her schedule, she's got her routine in her mind, and she just doesn't see how being stylish fits into her routine. She goes to the gym, and then she goes to the grocery store, and then she goes and gets her hair done, and then she picks her kid up from school, and then she does whatever it is in her day, and then she gets home and it's 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, she's not going to get dressed for the day at 2:00 in the afternoon. So she just stays in her workout clothes. And she doesn't really think that's a problem necessarily. But then in certain situations, it is a problem. And what we came to the conclusion of is she really wants to look stylish. She really wants to look put together. She wants to be able to know what she's doing, but she thinks that she has to come home from the gym and shower and wash her hair and take off all of her makeup and then put on a nice outfit, whatever that looks like for her, do her hair, put on all her makeup. She thinks she has to do all of that in order to then be stylish and put together. And so I think that a lot of us women think that. And I said, well, what are you wearing right now? She was wearing a t-shirt and some joggers at the time. And I said, you could just put on a puffer jacket and a pair of fashion sneakers with what you're wearing right now. And that would be an elevated look than what you're wearing right now. And it would look like it was intentional and put together. And that, I think, is what is that's available for all of us, is just to start where we are and just elevate just a little bit of where we are. And then actually what happens is your brain starts to open up to different possibilities. And for you in your wealth building, I know with my budget, it's done the same thing. When I've just started where I am and just taken a little baby step, it relieves some of the pressure that I've put on myself. And then my brain opens up to, actually, I could do this too. I could do that. What if I did this? Those options never were available to me before.
I love that. And I love the visual you just gave us of the, young lady. I just saw the puffer jacket. I saw the sneakers and I'm like, oh yeah, she looks really cute.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the workout clothes these days, they are
Yes.
super cute. And you can just add a little pizzazz and
Hmm.
you're fully dressed. I love that.
Hmm.
Okay, so now we got to get to one of the things that a lot of my listeners struggle with. I used to struggle with this too. And if I'm not careful, I can fall back into it, overspending and impulse spending. And it is so
Hmm.
easy to do
Hmm.
this with shopping and clothing.
Hmm.
So many of my listeners love the thrill of the buy, like the high of the buy, the thrill of the new piece. But then a lot of times we feel guilty afterwards because maybe we didn't set that budget and maybe we did overspend and maybe we're not going to be able to hit some of the goals we had for the month. What tips do you have for balancing that excitement? Like, oh my God, I got to have it with just a more smart spending approach.
I have the best story for this. This just happened, and it it might not sound like it's gonna tie into this, but it's going to. So I just recently returned home from Paris. My best friend's daughter was getting married, and that's where she wanted to be married. And so a whole bunch of us went over to France and went to Paris for her wedding. She married a French man, a local from France. So he wanted to have his family there at the wedding and wanted to have everyone there. So we ended up traveling over to France. And we were there for 10 days. And I'm a wardrobe stylist. So you can imagine that I could do some damage over there, right?
Yes.
And so I had been thinking about the things I wanted to buy in Paris, the budget that I wanted to take with me to purchase the things that I wanted for quite some time. I knew about this trip for several months before we went. And so I had spent a lot of time thinking and dreaming of all of the fabulous things I could get in Paris. And so I had a hefty budget when I went over. I had thought about this and I'd given myself a pretty good runway of money. And I ended up in Louis Vuitton in Paris. And I had considered buying a purse before I left. That was one of the things that I wanted to purchase when I made my budget was I wanted to buy a purse. And so I found myself in Louis Vuitton and I was looking at all of the bags and the wallets and all of the beautiful things that they have at Louis Vuitton. And I had planned to have a budget that would allow me to buy a bag. So money wasn't necessarily the determining factor because I had given myself a pretty good budget. Now, I didn't give myself $10,000. I couldn't just purchase any bag in the store. I had given myself a budget of what I was willing to spend. And there were bags and wallets and different things that I could purchase within that budget. It wasn't that there wasn't anything there that was in my price range. And as I was there, I had this, you can imagine this thrill of I am in Paris at Louis Vuitton. Is this real life? And I had money. I had the money that I had set aside to purchase a bag. And I was looking at all of the bags and we were waiting. You have to wait for someone to come and help you because they take you in order of when you come into the store. So we were waiting for our salesman to come and help us. And I was looking through all these bags and I found one that was probably okay. It wasn't my favorite, but it was really pretty and it was within my price range. And I thought maybe I'm going to buy that bag today. I might be buying that bag today. And I thought, I'm gonna give myself some time and I'm gonna look around and whatever. And I decided that that particular bag wasn't functional for what I would want it to be functional for if I was gonna spend that much money and be carrying a Louis Vuitton. There were some things about it that I didn't feel like were very functional for my lifestyle. And I thought that initially that was kind of what do I want to say? A surprise maybe to me that I had even thought about the functionality because usually I'm impulse buying and I just buy it, right? And I ultimately decided not to buy the handbag but I found myself wanting to get something. Like I came here to get something. I came here to get a bag. I even have a budget and everything for it. I have to get something. And so I was talking to my friends that were with me, and my one friend said, "You wear belts all the time. They have belts. Why don't you look at the belts?" And so I found myself looking at the belts and trying on belts and finding this cute belt that I would probably wear all the time. I really would wear it all the time. And it was, I don't know, $500 or something, $700, something like that for this belt. I had the money. I had the budget. And I found myself in this place where I'm very familiar with, where it's that impulse buy and you're buying because of the emotions that are happening and it's super fun. And I almost bought that belt. I was very close to buying that belt. And I would have worn it every day probably. But ultimately, I didn't plan on buying a belt. I planned on buying a purse, and I had the budget for a purse. And I knew just from past experience of looking at my bank account and seeing all of these charges that I probably didn't need, and I just impulse bought and I overspent, and the feeling that that created so many times in my life that I've decided I don't want to have that feeling. I don't want to have that feeling anymore. And so what am I willing to feel instead? And in that moment in Paris, standing in the Louis Vuitton store, holding a belt that I know I would wear, I decided that I would rather feel the feeling of disappointment and not getting what I wanted to get than having that feeling of regret and shame of overspending. That was what I decided was, if I don't want to feel the feeling of shame and I've done it again, why can't I get this figured out? All of that. If I don't want to have those feelings anymore, what feeling am I willing to have instead? And thinking about that ahead of time, I'm willing to feel disappointment. And disappointment is a terrible emotion. It doesn't feel very good, right? But I'm willing to feel that emotion so that I have the money in my bank account when I need it. And that actually is what got me to Paris. I had the money to go to Paris. I had the money and the budget to give myself to buy a purse. 10 years ago, that would have never even been the case. I would have never had the money to do that. So,
oh my gosh. Okay. So, what I'm getting from this is such a good story because I think we all can relate to that. Like the high of the buy and then the crash, because for every high, there's a low. And if you can get yourself while you're in that moment, first of all, I think having a plan, it's so interesting. When you have a plan to spend, the high isn't as high than when you don't have the plan to spend. It's so interesting how our brain is like, you're planning it. Well, it's not as fun if it was planned. You know, the primitive brain likes to be impulsive and, you know, it likes instant gratification. But what I'm hearing you say is play it out to the end, right? And this is something that I teach with overspending. It's just like play it all out. Like, yes, it feels good now to get that instant gratification, get that hit of dopamine, but how are you going to feel tomorrow, a week from now, when, you know, it's another regretful moment, you're feeling guilty, your bank account isn't where you want it to be. And, you know, you purchased something that you didn't love. Like sometimes we just buy stuff we don't even use or love. And so I love that. It's just like, that's the play it all the way through strategy. Like, how am I'd rather feel a little disappointed now, maybe a little deprived now, a little deflated now, but still, you know, that's better than feeling all those feelings later and not having the money that you.
And you know what? I came to realize too, with this exact thing is, and I had a money coach that was helping me with these realizations. And it came out in one of our coaching sessions that when I overspend, I love the feeling that I get when I get the new thing. And, you know, you have that dopamine hit and all the things. But then when I'm looking at my budget and I don't have the money that I want to have, that is disappointment. And I also have regret. And I also have whatever else comes with it, whether it's, you know, a fight with my husband or whatever it is, right, that comes with overspending. I also have that too.
Yeah.
And if I decide not to buy the thing, I just have disappointment. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
Which
like you're
I'm,
not compounding it
yes.
with
And if
all
I,
the other things.
yes. And if you end up getting the thing and you overspend and whatever, you have disappointment anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting away from disappointment by overspending.
No, oh my gosh. And you got the guilt, the stress,
Yes. Yes.
the not feeling secure. Now you got to figure out, okay, my credit card balance keeps going up, all the things. So
Yeah.
that was such a good
Yeah.
story to help bring that home. And I hope the listeners can relate because I totally can.
hmm
Like the
And
high of the buy is it's not worth it.
yeah. And you know what else I have now that I didn't anticipate having was I'm so proud of myself
Mm, yes. And that feels
because
amazing.
y'all are listening to a very seasoned overspender, especially when it comes to clothes. I have way more clothes than I need, way more. And I've spent way more money on clothes than any one person should. I have all the guilt, all the regret, all of it for years and years and years. It's been a struggle for me. And over the last couple of years, since I became a coach, I realized, oh, this is just a mindset thing, and I can work on that. And this isn't how it always has to be. And when I came home from Paris with spending, I don't even know, a quarter of the budget that I gave myself, I was so proud of myself on so many levels. Proud of myself that I had money left over, proud of myself that I managed myself well in Louis Vuitton as a wardrobe stylist. Like, I don't know how much more temptation you can get than that. And I managed myself. Do I have disappointment? Sure. I have disappointment. I have disappointment that I didn't find the bag that was mine. But I also don't have the disappointment of looking at a bag that I know isn't going to be what I wanted it to be. And I spent so much money on it.
Yeah, and that disappointment is so much worse.
It is.
So much worse. Oh my
It
God.
is.
Yeah. I love that story. Oh my gosh. Okay, so in your opinion, going back to like style and the pieces that we should potentially have, what are some staple pieces that you believe every woman should invest in to look put together, no matter what the trends are?
This is a great question, and I actually have a like a free guide, and it's called Style Basics Every Woman Should Have in Their Closet, and it's just a free digital download on my website. And these things are a little bit tricky. I do have to say they're a little bit tricky because it depends on the person's climate, first of all. I live in Idaho and it is cold here most of the time. So my basics are going to look different than my friend that lives in Florida. Her basics are going to look completely different than mine. So I struggle with this question in a generalized, I guess, conversation, but I'll do my best to give you some basics and some caveats as well. The first thing is you need to know what your outfit formula is. So what I'll take myself and my friend that lives in Florida, for instance. My outfit formula for most of the year is going to be long pants and a long sleeve shirt because it's cold here and I'm always cold. So even when it's warm, I need a long sleeve something. I need a jacket or something because the air conditioning, whatever, right? So my outfit formula, my base outfit formula is going to be longer pants and a longer shirt. My friend that lives in Florida, she's not going to have that as her base formula. Her base formula is a t-shirt and shorts,
Mm-hmm.
right? So knowing what your basic formula is, your basic outfit formula is very, very key. And then you do your style basics come into that. So for me, my style basics is going to be a really good pair of jeans and a couple of trouser type pants. Because of my personal style, I like to be a little bit more dressy. So I'm going to have a couple of pairs of trouser pants. I'm also going to have a button down the front shirt because that's my style statement. My style is a little bit dressier, but maybe it's a sweater like what you're wearing right now. Maybe that's more your style statement. So you need to have some kind of a dressier top, maybe a couple of dressier tops. Mine are going to be button down the front or flowy, of, kind of have ruffles or flowy or whatever, because that's my style. That's what I like. So you're going to need to have a couple of tops that are a little bit on the elevated dressier side, because we all have places that we want to be a little bit more dressed up, but it needs to feel good for you. It needs to feel on brand, I guess you could say, for you. So a pair of jeans, I feel like everybody needs a good pair of jeans that fits them really well and is flattering to their body, and a couple of pairs of trouser type pants, slacks, something like that. And then a couple of tops that are a little bit elevated, but not super fancy. And then third layers are really what take it to be stylish. That's what ends up making you look put together and look stylish, is a third layer. So that could be a vest. It could be a puffer vest. It could be a leather vest, some kind of a third piece, depending on your climate again. And it could be a leather jacket, a jean jacket, a moto jacket, a bomber jacket. Depending on what your style is, you're going to want something that's a third piece. It doesn't have to be warm. If, like, I'm wearing a vest right now that looks like it's really warm, it's not. If I go outside, I'm going to need to put my coat on. So the third layer is something that's a style element. It's not necessarily to keep you warm. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. I look at it as a style element, your third layer. And then, so you're going to want a couple of those so that you can make some different outfits with your third layers. I usually recommend people get 2 different styles, like a vest and a moto jacket, or a blazer and a puffer vest. So depending on what your personal style is, you'll want to go with that. Whether it's a blazer or a leather jacket, you decide, but some kind of a third piece that's a layer. And then you want to look at your shoes. What kind of shoes are comfortable for your feet, first of all? Are you someone who wears heels? Are you someone that wears boots? Do you like sneakers? What is your elements of style? What works for you? What is your job? What are you wearing those shoes to do? And I'm a shoe girl. I have 900 pairs of shoes. Like, I have way more shoes than I ever needed to have. But I say that you need roughly about 4 pairs of shoes is what everybody really needs to have. You need to have a boot, a loafer type shoe, a sneaker type of a shoe, and a heel or a pump of some kind. At least at the bare necessities, that's what everyone should have. Whether it's a stiletto heel or a pump or a kitten or a wedge, it doesn't really matter, but something that's just a little bit elevated, so that if you're wearing a dress or a skirt or something like that, you can dress it up a little bit. Or if you're wearing jeans and you want to elevate your jeans, you can put on a kitten heel and that would elevate your jeans. So those are the shoes that I would say that you need. And then I always recommend some kind of a sweater cardigan type of a look, whether it's a long cardigan, whether it's an open cardigan, whether it's a pullover sweater that's maybe cashmere or a nicer material that's a little bit elevated, something like that, because you can get different looks with different fabrics, different kinds of textures. And then if you have jewelry and belts and accessories on top of that, depending on what your style statement is, what your body shape is, how you want to create your silhouette, whether you use belts. Some people just don't wear belts because they don't ever see the belt. So they don't really want to spend the money on belts. That's great. You don't need to spend the money on belts if you don't wear a belt, but you'll need to have some kind of an accessory, whether it's a hat or a scarf or jewelry or bracelets or watches or whatever that is. You would want to have a few of those things as well. So depending on your climate, you're going to have shorts or long pants or skirts or dresses, and then depending on your style as well. But those are kind of like off the top of my head, I think I've gotten most everything. Maybe you need a dress, probably need a dress of some kind or a skirt or both, depending on your lifestyle and where you're going.
So that sounds so simple. And I'm thinking like, well, that's not enough. But that's the basics, right? And then to your point that you made earlier, then you can start adding in a little bit more, maybe another blouse, maybe another blazer, as you go along. But I can see that with what you said, you can really create some really cool looks with those.
It really just depends on having the right things, meaning you've got a button-up shirt, you've got a sweater of some kind, and you've got a t-shirt of some kind of a blouse of some kind. And then you've got a vest or a blazer or a cardigan, and you can make so many outfits with just those things. So
Yeah, I
many
can
outfits.
totally
Like
see that.
I'm assuming we could come up just off the top of my head with at least 15 or 20 outfits just with that.
Yeah. And the truth is, I'm like you, my closet is pretty full, but I only wear like a quarter, maybe an eighth of what's in there. Like I have my favorite black pants that I'm always wearing the trousers. I have my favorite jeans and a few of my favorite tops, but I have so much more than that. So it's interesting how you really only wear a few things anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, there is studies that have been done that we only wear about 20% of our wardrobe. Like
Yeah.
any one of us has about 80% more clothes that we just don't really wear.
I was just gonna say, and we don't want to get rid of them. And think of all the money that we spent on those clothes and they're just sitting there.
You don't want to get rid of them because you might need them someday, right? And I also have a concept that I've created that I call the 5 lifestyle categories. And when I talk to people about their 5 lifestyle categories, it actually ends up letting them see that some of the 80% of their clothes that they, in quotes, don't ever wear, they do wear. It's just the category isn't an everyday category. And so they've told themselves, because they don't wear it all the time, that it was a waste. But really, if that category is an important category in your life and you do that category or that event or that activity is really important to you, then you need to have clothes for that activity no matter how often it comes.
Yes.
It's just really nice to know when you look at those clothes in your closet that they were bought for a specific purpose. They are for a specific purpose and a specific event or activity that we do in our lives, and they're purchased for that. When things have a purpose, they feel better.
Yes, I agree. So, along those lines, what would you say to women who feel pressure to always have something new to wear
Mm.
for like events or for social media? They feel like they can't be seen in the same outfit twice. I have a friend who's just like, I can't wear this dress again. I already wore it. And I'm like, but you spent $300 on it. Like, I think you can wear it again. She's like, she said the other day, you're really good at that, but I'm not. And I'm like, should I be offended by
That's
should
funny.
I be offended by that? But I was like, I'm not going to be offended, but I think I should.
Yeah. Well, my first initial response is, "What's wrong with that?" Like, I buy clothes and only wear them once, and then I'm bored. Like, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I don't actually do that. But I do have a lot of outfits that, or a lot of clothes that I'll wear one time and think, "Oh man, that was such a great outfit," and I can't wear it again, because it's not as awesome the second time around, right?
Yeah, I know. I think that is something that a lot of
Yeah,
women
yeah.
think. Do you remember there used to be this show on TLC called What Not to Wear?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh my God, I loved that show. And one of the concepts that they, gave their clients was, maybe it was a tool, like how much wear you can get out of something. So like if it was an expensive item, she would say, well, think about how many wears, cost per wear was her
Yes, yes,
terminology.
yes.
And so for me, if I'm going to spend a nice amount of money on a dress for an event, yeah, I'm not going to wear it to every event, but I got to get some wear out of it. That's just my thought process.
Yes, for sure. And I agree. And it's been fun for me in, doing this job for the last several years to be able to see different outfits that I can put together from one dress. We'll just take the dress, and I'll give you just right off the top of my head 3 different ways to wear a dress. So let's say you get the dress, it's whatever it is. Like,
Can I give
I
you an
don't,
example?
yes, 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 yes.
Okay. So I just bought a dress. It's black and it's got like silver sequins, gold sequins, and like rose gold, like little like
Ooh, yeah,
swirly sequins around. But you can see a
yeah,
lot of the black.
yeah,
And I just think the only way you wear it is you wear it by itself. But you're saying I could wear it differently, so please tell me.
yeah. So depending on where you're going and how you want to be dressed. So it sounds like that's a kind of a fancier dress that you would wear
Hmm.
to like
A
a
gala,
dinner, yeah, a gala, something like that, right? Well, how often do you have galas?
maybe like once, twice, or twice a year.
Yeah, let's say twice a year. So twice a year, you're going to wear that dress exactly like that, just the way that it's designed to be, and it's in all of its bling and glory, right? But then let's say that you have another event that's maybe not as fancy as the gala, but you really love that dress and you like the way you feel in it, but it's just a little bit too much for whatever event is happening. Then you find a really nice tailored blazer
Mm.
and you wear the blazer with the dress and you add a belt. It's completely different with a blazer and a belt. Now, depending on your style, you could put the belt on the dress, like around your waist on the dress, and then put the blazer on. Or you could put the blazer on, cinch the blazer up, and put the belt over the blazer. That is a different way to style it,
Hmm.
depending on what your style is, depending on what your body shape is, whatever, right? But there's two ways that you could wear the blazer and the belt. Okay.
Hmm.
And another way is just the belt, just
Hmm.
the belt and a scarf, and
Yeah.
maybe even different shoes. Maybe you put a boot with it instead of a stiletto.
Yes. I am feeling all of this.
Okay. So there's that's another one.
Uh-huh.
And another way that you could do it is remember when we were talking about basics and you have a cashmere sweater that's a nice sweater that's like a maybe even a pull-on sweater
Hmm.
has I mean cashmere has a really great soft beautiful texture.
Hmm.
You put that over top of the dress and now it looks like a skirt.
Mm.
So you have the sweater that covers the top of it, and maybe it covers a lot of the bling. But if you're going to wear it to church or you're going to wear it to graduation for your kid or something like that, then maybe you wouldn't want all the bling and it would be okay. And you'd wear that really nice, soft cashmere sweater, and then you would see the bottom of it and it would look like a skirt. You
Hmm.
could even put a belt around it as well,
Yeah.
depending on what your style is. So that's just right off the top of my head. That's what I would say.
Okay,
Every
you all.
dress can.
I just have to stop you right there. I just have to stop you. You guys, you need Sherry in your life. Like, I am just like blown away by that. That is so good. And I could see why you said, listen, instead of going to buy a whole bunch of new stuff, you should hire somebody to help you because you'll get your cost per
Mhm,
wears will go
mhm,
way, down because you'll be wearing the things that you have.
mhm. Yeah, you'll be wearing the things you have. And for me, this is just coming from I learned how to do this because I made myself come up with new outfits so that I felt like I had a brand new outfit every time, but it wasn't. It was just stuff out of my closet.
Yeah.
And so I made myself figure out, oh, well, I could do that and I could do this and this might look good and this might look good. And I would put it together and be like, yeah, I could wear this to graduation. I wouldn't wear it
Hmm.
to the gala, but I could wear it to graduation and I could still wear this dress that I love and I would feel amazing in it.
Yeah. That is
So
such good advice.
when I say shop your closet, that's what I mean. Let's go shop your closet. Let's put some things together that you don't naturally put them together now, but they could totally be put together. And you could have all these extra outfits that you don't even know you have, and they're brand new.
Yeah. And I bet you do this over Zoom, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
So
You
it
need
doesn't matter
someone.
where you are. I can
Hmm.
help you.
She can help you. She just helped me.
I can't wait to see all the pictures of you adding the things to your dress and
I'm
making
gonna
it.
have to tag you. I'm gonna have to tag
Yes,
you in
you
them.
will. Yeah,
Yes.
you will. I love it. I love it.
So I have one more question before we wrap up. This has been so much fun. I love talking fashion. I love
Yes,
it.
me too.
So I think I kind of know the answer to this based on the Paris story. But
Okay.
what's your take on luxury items like designer bags and shoes? Are there times when it's a smart investment to really invest in these higher end items? If so, how can we do it wisely?
Okay. The Paris story kind of ties in, right? And also, I feel like there are some things depending on your style, depending on on the weather, depending on, lots of things that are personal, which is why you need to have someone helping you figure this out. For a lot of my clients, they want to have a nice pair of shoes that they're going to be wearing 80% of the time. And maybe they get that pair of shoes in a couple of different colors because it really is their style. It works with a lot of the clothes that they have in their closet, and they're really comfortable. And they wear them a lot. I have some boots, some little booties. They're
Hmm.
Sorel brand. So they were $200, but I have worn the heck out of them because I bought them in two different colors because no matter what I'm wearing, one of those pairs of shoes is going to look great with them. And they're
Hmm.
comfortable and they're warm because it's cold here. And so I spent $200 I spent $400 on two pairs of shoes, but I literally in this wintertime wear them every day. And so I think shoes are something that you should consider spending some money on. Not every single pair of shoes I have, I spent $200 on.
Right.
But those two pairs of shoes, I for sure wear them a lot and I know I'm going to wear them a lot and they're comfortable. They do what they need to do for me. And so it was worth it to spend that kind of money. A coat is also something that I would spend a good amount of money on. At least at least two coats I would have that I would spend some money on. One of them would be a trench coat
Hmm.
that's a little bit more dressy of a so that you can either wear it as an up-leveled casual or you can wear it as a dress coat over a dress of some kind. I would spend some money on that because the the more fitted the clothing is, the more money you're going to want to spend on it because of the fabric that they use and the way that they do the stitching. So if it's a trench coat, like or a dress coat of some kind, if you spend a little bit more money, you're going to get a better quality fabric, which is going to move better and it's going to feel more comfortable on your body. And you'll be able to wear layers underneath it because the fabric will be able to give.
Hmm.
So that's what I would say about a trench coat. And then some kind of a winter type coat. I have one that heats up because I'm cold all the time. So it has a
Hmm.
battery in it and I click it on and it heats up for me. And it was a pricey item. If you don't live in Idaho in the winter, you probably don't need a heated coat, right?
Right.
But maybe you live somewhere else and you need a coat, or maybe you need two dress coats because that's your lifestyle, whatever, right? So shoes and coats for sure. I would, those are at the top of the list for me. And when I work
Okay.
with clients is shoes and coats. The other thing that I always just say in general, this is just a general rule for everybody, spend more on your bottoms than you do on your tops. Just in general, you're going to wear your bottoms more than you wear your tops.
Hmm.
So you have 5 shirts that will go with those one pair of jeans. They will look good with those one pair of jeans. So make sure that your jeans hold up your cost per wear to the 5 shirts you're going to wear with it. You're going to spill on your shirt probably before you spill on your pants. So you're going to ruin, in quotes, a top probably faster than you would ruin a bottom. So just in general, spend more on the bottoms than you do on the tops. So without going into a whole bunch of stuff that might muddy the waters and make people confused, that's what I would say. And if you think about spend more on the bottom than you do on the top, your shoes are on the bottom.
That's true. Okay, so what about
Yeah.
handbags though? Like I'm a handbag person. I think I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to handbags.
Yeah, handbags I think is a style preference, like it's a style element. If you are a bag person or if you're a shoe person, for me I'm a shoe person. So I have lots of shoes. And when I went to Paris, that was on my list of things is to buy a really nice pair of shoes and a purse. I wanted a purse, but for handbags, I think it depends on if you're using it as a style element and what your style is, and then what your budget is, or if it's functionality. If it's functionality, then you might want to spend a little bit more on your purse because you're going to use it every single day. And you're going to drop it into the front seat of the car 1,000 times. You're going to want it to hold up. If you're just using it as, oh, I want this color today and I want that color today. And, I just want a whole bunch of purses and it's super fun for me to have a bunch of purses. Then maybe you wouldn't want to spend a bunch of money on purses. Maybe that would be something that you would decide you want more bags. And so you're going to spend less on each one so that you can have more. That's an option. Or maybe you're the person that's like, listen, I want Louis Vuitton and I want
Hmm.
all of them. I want all of them.
Right, and that's where the coaching needs to come in if you want them all. Like you can want them all, but we could talk about
Yeah.
buying them all.
Yeah, we can talk about it. And I really do think like I have a dress bag I have a couple of dressier bags that I'm gonna take to church. I'm going to take to the gala. I'm gonna to dinner with my husband. Those kinds of things I want. It's gonna go with my outfit. So if I wear a
Yeah.
dressier outfit, then I'm gonna have a dressier handbag. That's just my personal style. It doesn't mean that that is what everyone has to do because it depends on what your personal style is. It really, really does depend on your personal style and your functionality and practicality and what is functional and practical for you.
Yeah, I love that. For me, it's, my crossbody, my Tory Burch crossbody is my everyday. I've had it for years. It
Hmm.
is been
Functional.
with me through thick and thin. I have a shoulder issue, so I can't do the real heavy bags anymore. But then when it's time to go out, I have
Hmm.
the Chanel crossbody.
Yeah.
I love it. It's beautiful. And it was a splurge, but it was one of those things, kind of like your Paris story, where I was planning for it. I knew I was going to do it. And I'm so glad I did.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. I think if you know yourself and you know what you like, then it's a lot easier to buy those really expensive items. Because
Hmm.
like with my Sorel shoes, my boots, I didn't have any problem spending money on those because I knew I was going to love them. And every time I put them on, I'm like, oh yeah, oh, it's like coming home in these babies. It just is like your Chanel
Yeah.
crossbody.
Yeah.
You
Love
love
it.
it. And
Hmm.
it's going to stay with your Tory Burch. It's going to stay with you forever because
Hmm.
you know yourself. You know you have shoulder issues. You know you like a crossbody. You know the colors that you usually wear, so it's going to go with a lot of things in your closet. It's those kinds of things. I think it's being intentional about your purchases,
Hmm.
not necessarily about how much you spend.
Absolutely. That is the perfect place to end. It's about being intentional about your purchases, not necessarily about how much you spend. I think that sums it up perfectly. So you do not have to give up your love of fancy
Yeah.
handbags, but you do want to be intentional about it. Sheri,
Yes.
thank you so much for all of the wisdom you have shared with us. And I know people want to be connected to you. So tell us all the ways that we can stay connected to you.
Well, you can find me at sheribrasier.com. That's my website. It's just my name. And I also am on Instagram, Sheri Brasier Style, and on Facebook, Sheri Brasier Style. Anywhere that you can find me, I'll be on Sheri Brasier Style. But also, I have a class that I'm doing in November, on November 6th, that is looking stylish on a budget. And it's a free, just webinar type Zoom class. If you get registered for it and you can't be there, I will send a replay. So it would be great. It would be a great place for people to come and get to know me. It's free. You'll get the replay if you want to watch the replay. And it is all about looking stylish on a budget. So I'm going to have a lot of these tips that I've learned over the years for myself. And they can register for that at sheribrasier.com/free workshop. That's where that's at. And then anything that you see online, I have free resources and also programs for your listeners if they want to work with me on different levels of pricing. So if it's I need to be on a stricter budget, but I would love some help, there's those options. And there's also I need someone to walk hand in hand with me, and I need you in my life every day in my closet with me. There's that level too, and everything in between. So I've got lots of resources for your people. SheriBrasier.com.
Awesome. And we will have all of that information in the show notes so that you all can stay connected. Sheri, thank you so much for this conversation. You were so generous with all of your tips, and I can't wait to wear my dress more often.
Yes, I can't wait for you to show me your pictures.
Yes. Well, you have a great one. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, before you go, if you're ready to create a life with more money and more freedom, then you're invited to join the Wealthy Woman's Academy, my signature coaching program where you'll learn how to take control of your money and build wealth without sacrificing your lifestyle. To get started, head on over to jermainefoley.com/WWA. That's Jermaine with a G. See you over there. Bye-bye.